When you get in the military, it's a whole new environment. I mean, it's 24/7. When you get into the military, you don't control necessarily where you go. I mean, you can ask to go to certain forts and certain locations, but you really don't have the final say. It's that old saying, you know, the military will put you where they need you, or the Army will assign you where they need you. And especially when there's a war like the Vietnam War going on, then yeah, you wind up going anywhere you want. You move constantly, and you're constantly having to go and learn different kinds of tasks. Even though you're within a certain branch, you have to learn to work with different people, different superiors, and all that's fine, but it's very condensed. It happens a lot more often, especially when you're first starting off. You have to go into different training environments and you have to adapt. And a lot depends on rank too. I mean, if you're a private E1, you know, you don't get the same kind of benefits you would as a second lieutenant. I mean, the living conditions, and if you have a family too, you know, it's awkward constantly moving around, especially if you deploy, you know, overseas. Sometimes you can move with your family to house, and the government provides, the military provides housing for you, sometimes not.
Once I got out to my first unit, there was a whole series. My first unit on the Coast Guard cutter Jarvis, there's pretty much the whole first year was all just training. And so, you know, as like a junior engineering officer on the ship, just like learning the whole engineering plant, learning everything that basically, like, you know, start at the bottom and work your way up and like learn the duties of everybody that you would potentially be in charge of. And so just learning the whole engineering plant, all the different equipment, you know, how to operate it, what to watch for. And then after learning the whole engineering plant and getting some experience, you know, operating it from different positions, then going up on the bridge and learning how to navigate the ship and how to drive it and things like that. So getting qualified, you know, as the engineer of the watch, and then getting qualified to drive the ship as well. So that it was, you know, typically it was like 8 hours. As a junior officer, you basically work like 16 hours a day on the ship, because you typically, until you were fully qualified in all the different assignments you were supposed to be qualified for, typically you'd have like your first shift for watch from like 04 to 08, and then you'd have like your regular like 8-hour work day for just like other more administrative duties. But then you'd have a second watch from like 1600 to 2000. And so basically like 8 hours of watch and training, and then sandwiched on top of a regular 8-hour work day. And so that was kind of like the typical schedule most of the time until you got fully qualified in all the positions you were supposed to be qualified on the ship. So, which I think, you know, that doing that 16-hour workday lasted at least the first year, maybe a little bit longer, I forget exactly, until finally got like fully qualified in the different positions I was supposed to be able to do on the ship. So it was a lot of long days.
I was really surprised because I didn't make a lot of good friends there because I was so busy working all the time. And on my downtime, I didn't know anybody else that would have the time off, because we had a few nurses, but we had to stagger the days that we were off because we had to cover the rooms. And we never knew when the wounded would come in. In fact, they'll call you in wherever you are to come and do cases if they got a lot of wounded coming in by helicopter. You could hear the helicopters landing anywhere you went, except unless you went to the air base in Da Nang. But if you stayed around the hospital, you could hear them landing, and you knew you had to get back to the hospital. And we had long hours there. Most of the time it was long hours when they had casualties come in. And we couldn't leave a case unless it's finished. So it was one right after another.
In Iraq specifically, we flew so much. I mean, as flight crew, I was flying pretty much every day. I think our unit was able to work in maybe 2 days off in the whole 7 months we were there, but that's because we partnered with one of the other units, and they were able to cover our flight schedule while we were taking those couple days of rest, and vice versa. We covered them when they took a couple days off, just to keep morale high and to kind of keep us sharp, just to have a day off in the middle of all that chaos.